Have you heard the saying, I have heard this before, maybe I'm just mental though, that you stick EMGs on a guitar made of toast and they'll sound the same. So, we've got a James Hetfield set, which I've got the box for here, of EMGs which have kind of metal covers on them, so they look more like normal pickups. So I've got them on this LTD James Hetfield Iron Cross limited, did I say limited edition? Serial number starts W18, so 2018 model. It looks brand spanking new, and it's got a metal cross screwed to the top of it. So it's it's obviously a Les Paul. And I've also got a Chapman ghostfret, which has the same pickups in it. This one was tuned down to D standard, and this one was in drop D, but I've made them both normal standard tuning, just to see if there's a difference between the sounds. So there's quite a difference in builds, kind of like a 2-for-1 this video, I suppose, with this guitar being the Metallica James Hetfield version of, I suppose, a Gibson Les Paul. I would have to say that I like this better than my Gibson Les Paul. It's it's not as fat, it's not as heavy, and the neck doesn't seem to be at such a crazy angle, although it's probably still at a bit of an angle, because I notice I'm sitting it on the side of my belly rather than the front of my belly like I do in a Strat. Yeah, so this one has, I assume that's 2 volumes and a tone. I just noticed it, it's only got 3 knobs. This one is a fake switch, don't do anything. Which I'd be tempted to make it into a kill switch. Yeah, I did a kill switch for my pal Andrew relatively recently, and you can make it so that it's off on the outside but on in the middle, so you get like a doubly clicky thing. But I mean, then again, you might bash it and turn the guitar off when you're rocking out, or you just put a blank one in. But this is obviously to go with James Hetfield's guitar. He must have moved the thing down there. So I think I'm assuming that that's the neck pickup. That'll be a tone. Yeah, so neck pickup. See, if that switch wasn't there, I wouldn't go to switch it, but it's because it's there, so now it's bridge pickup. That's bridge pickup volume. So just running the orange TH30 there through that 3x12 cabinet. I've got a Moore reverb pedal in front of it. Nothing else on. So I'm still, I had a guitar, I can't even remember which one it was that had EMGs in it. I just fitted EMGs to my pad. I'm dropping it off tonight. That Jackson, that was an 81 and a 60 or something like that, which I'm not sure. I think that might be what these are, but because they're the James Hetfield ones, so they've got the metal covers on them, so they don't look as much like EMGs. I noticed they're not adjustable pole pieces. It's probably because they're not actually pole pieces. I'm pretty sure EMGs have bar magnets in them, so they've kind of made a plastic cover with the pole pieces on it, and then stuck a metal cover on it just for the look. At least I think that's what the case is. It's the same as it's the same Hetfield ones that are in that guitar. But I believe this guitar's sold, so I don't actually need to do any sort of sales pitch on it. But I mean, it's an awful nice guitar. It really is. I don't think they're cheap. I think these are like $1,000 or something like that. Even though it's an LTD, not an actual ESP, because ESP, if you look them up, I don't know when this happened, but they're now like $5,000. So like the actual ESP Japanese ones are super expensive, and LTD goes up till like 1,500 quid or something like that. And then you've got something that's E2, it's called, which is like the next a range in the middle. ESP guitars never used to be that expensive. But this is a very nice guitar. It's got the volute, it's got locking tuners, LTD branded locking tuners. Set neck. Maybe it's the white Les Paul thing gets me, and it's got a go faster stripe right down the middle. It's a little bit Nazi-ish. No, not Nazi, it's German with that cross. That's a German thing, isn't it? German First World War. And I just noticed it's actually got like a wobbly cross to go with the sort of slightly wavy fret markings. It's also got a wobbly cross on the 12th fret. I've not seen the specs of this, but that might be an ebony fingerboard. Binding, I'm going to say it's a Tusk nut or something like that. Tunematic, pretty bog standard looking bridge. A few extra contours. Well, an extra contour there, and I don't think it's as thick as a Gibson. Yeah, so I shall move on to the other guitar. Right, so this will be interesting. I took the LTD out its case, tuned it, hung it on the wall. So I didn't even plug it into an amp, so I've no idea what this guitar is going to sound like. This is a through neck. No, talk about guitar. While it's still fresh in memory, because it was only 10 seconds ago, I will play a little bit on this one on the bridge pickup. Some things I really like about this guitar, and that being one of them. Right, it's a lot louder, I would have said, than that one, and has a different sound. In saying that, as this was tuned down to D, it's probably got thicker strings on it, which probably makes a huge difference. See, this one sounds a bit more like EMG's in my thought, where it's really, really harsh and oh, don't have push pull pots in it. No. So I need to see what's going on there. I think this has got like 12s or something on it to cope with the lower tuning. So this is my first ever time actually seeing one of these Ghost Frets. So it's an Explorer retype thing, upside down headstock. It's got the locking tuners on it as well. It's got hip shot locking tuners. It's a Ghost Fret Pro, and it's a serial numbers WM, which is World Music, I think. 2018. I would think again this one looks pretty much unused. Okay, there's a wee scratch there, but I mean, it's pretty much in mint condition. So I think this looks very much, if it's got hip shot tuners, this bridge looks very much like a hip shot bridge. So it's either a copy of a hip shot bridge, but I'm thinking because it's got the hip shot tuners, it's probably got the actual hip shot bridge as well. The James Hetfield Metallica set. This one's got infinity frets, as you can see there. I was actually having this discussion with the guy who designs and built the J-Pax prototype guitar, talking about whether do you think I should have fret markers on the front or not? And they're like, oh, I don't know. The thing about fret markers is I don't ever see them. I know a lot of people play looking at the frets. I don't. I do need the dots on the edge of the fretboard. Yeah, there's no option to have them. No, we want them. But on the front, it's kind of like one of those things that they're of no use to the player. But see, if you're in a band, or if someone in the guitarist in your band and you're just jamming along and you're not sure exactly where you are, what the chord is, when you've got the dots, it's easier to see. Basically, it just means there's more chance that other people in the band are going to know what you're doing, whether you're in A or an E sort of thing, because you can see it and go up here. Oh, he's kind of playing about the 5th fret, with the second dot, so it's probably somewhere around about A. Whereas with this, it's like pure. Oh, I don't know. Is that? Yeah, that's A. Doesn't look that different. There's no reference points, so it's a personal choice thing. I said I think probably put the fret markings in, just for that reason, to help the rest of your band. Yeah, so maple neck through. My through neck Washburn A20, which is actually it's kind of an Explorer, but the more I play Explorer guitars, the less of an Explorer it seems to be. It fits in a normal guitar case and you can lean it against the wall. This doesn't fit in a normal guitar case and you can't lean it against the wall, which makes it difficult to put down. This is my usual rant with Explorers. It just comes if you go to the toilet when you're in the rehearsal room, and it's like, pure right, I'll just put my guitar. It's like, do you put it just flat on the ground? Then someone might stand on it, or do you put it on top of your amp, sitting like that? But then that's quite a high way up. Someone could walk past it, knock it, and bash it on the floor. So basically, I don't know. Just take it to the toilet with you. but for hygiene reasons, I've never done that. I've just moaned about it. Just kind of you kind of stash the guitar behind the amp on the floor. It's like just where nobody's likely to go, and you tell everyone I'm putting my guitar down, blah blah blah, make a big fuss about it, and then no one will go need it, and it'll be fine. Yes. So this is a much wider, flatter fingerboard than the LTD. I do think this. It could just. I mean, it could be something as simple as the pickups are. No, I said the pickups are about the same height. I think it's the bigger strings are why this seems a bit brighter. These are definitely thicker than normal strings. Not a lot bigger, but bigger. Oh, just noticed as well, it's like I've always say it as well, when you're looking at the bit you actually see of a guitar when you're playing, when you're not looking at yourself in a monitor or in a mirror, is the back at this bit here, in the back of the neck and the back of the headstock. This one has cool tuners that you can actually see the gearing in, which I'm not going to be able to show. You might, if I do it that way, can you see it? No, light's not good enough. No. Yeah, you can sort of see the wee brass bit. That's like the gearing bits, the hip shot thing. It's got a cool finish on it, sort of charcoaly stain satin, where it's kind of like it's more faded here. It's got more paint on it here, so you can kind of see. It's got like a bit in the middle where you can see the, I assume, maple veneer. Although it's always hard. I think it is. I think it's a maple top, a maple cap. On it, it looks quite thick here, and this is a faux binding, which is when instead of putting plastic in, they basically just have a maple cap, and then they just tape off the edge, and then when they paint it and then peel it off, and you're left with, oh look, binding, but it's not. It's actually much better. Yeah, and it's an Explorer. Rat pedal. Neck. This has a really strange balance to it. It's really neck heavy, which normally Explorers aren't. I've actually got a Gibson Explorer through there. We'll do a video on, possibly even later on this afternoon. I wonder what it's like, because I don't get this with my Explorer guitars. I've got an Aria Blade Runner, which is like a pointy one of these, a more pointy, slightly, like the points are sharper. It's more of a Strat to play though, and I've got a Westtone Raider, which is again more of a Strat to play, but it's kind of very actually similar to the. It's just even more pointy. I've only got one pickup in it, and I've got this Washburn Stage Series, which although you would describe as an Explorer-y type thing, they're not really. It's just like if you take an Explorer and kind of squish it up, make it a bit different. Yeah. So I don't know how much one of these costs. I think this one might be for sale as well. It just so happens the chap was saying he was going to sell it, or he was going to sell it for like £100 less without the pickups in it and put the original pickups back in. And I was like, I've got an EMG James Hetfield box with Chapman pickups in it. But I don't think you gave it to me. He's like, oh, I think I did. I probably gave you. That would make sense. Why would you have an EMG box? So I was like, I'm sure my pal Ronnie gave me that. So I just messaged Ronnie and said, did you give me a box of Chapman pickups that came in an EMG box? And he was like, up here, yeah, they were a £5. He got them in Dundee, so he couldn't say no. It was just one time he came out. He's like, up here, I got you these. So, yeah, so they're not, but I do have another set if whoever it is wants the original Chapman pickups put back in it. I think it's just it's an attitude thing. I think it might be a Metallica thing. Well, it's a Metallica thing if you're buying Metallica pickups, I would have thought. Yeah, so I mean, I'm not a huge fan of EMGs myself. This one seems to be more EMG sounding than that one, but neither of them seem to be as EMG as that Jackson, if that makes any sense at all. was going to say it's a one-piece now. I don't think. I think it's a three-piece laminate. All up for the Japanese three-piece laminates. It just makes it less likely to break. That's why so many of the 70s Japanese guitars or the early 80s Japanese guitars are still the same now as they were when they were new, because they totally overbuilt them to make... it was like for the shipping, they used to just ship them in... I think if you're going from Japan to like America, you kind of go past the South Pole. So you go from Japan, which is normally... I think it's a bit the similar climate to we get, and then it goes past the South Pole where it's super Baltic and dry, and then it comes up and it goes up past, you know, like the tropical bit with Brazil and all that, and then through Florida to get to America. So it's already been through. So basically, if you don't build it pure amazing, the guitars don't survive. That's actually what killed Washburn. A container of guitars all warped because they were spec'd. This is the original Yamaki factory. Apparently they were spec'd to... Washburn just wanted more guitars, and they were like, "Pure, no, but we can't build them like this at the rate. Like, make them cheaper." So they basically started making them a bit more like the way modern guitars are built. You know, instead of the Wing series all being different, they all started off as the same thing, and then the Hawk got this type of pickups, and the Falcon got different pickups and a tremolo and more binding. But they all kind of started off the same, and they were very and they didn't have the multi-lam, and they basically churned them out in about a tenth of the time, and just to try and keep up with the Washburn orders, because they were totally failing. The guitars sold so much quicker than they thought they would. So that's a really bad business model they had. And because they brought them out at quite a reasonable price, they couldn't match that. They couldn't produce them at the right volume, so they had to make the guitars cheaper. So any ones after about 1982 are still Washburn Falcons, still really good, still better than a Gibson, but not the same as the Yamaki ones, which are just like, it's almost like a custom made, handmade thing. Yeah, so I'll go back onto the keep calling it the James Hetfield. I suppose they're technically both James Hetfields. Just to see if this does actually sound different. Bearing in mind that one does have heavier strings on it, which will change things. It was either that, or maybe I bet you if I'd left that in D standard, it would have, the tension would have been the same, but then it would have been tuned down, so I don't know what... That would just be a different thing. Yeah, this guitar's much brighter. Again, if it's not the strings... But saying that, to be honest, I've switched between 9s and 10s quite a lot, and I haven't really actually noticed any difference in sound. More a difference in feel rather than sound. So maybe the guitar is imparting some sort of tone on it. It might even be... I'm not sure exactly where these ones were made. W might stand for World Musical Organisation, so they might actually even be made in the same factory, and it's a 2018, so they're kind of same factory, same time, different branches in the same... That does not mean they're the same guitar though. I remember someone said that about in one of the Harley Benton pages the other day. Like, yes, my guitar is made in the same factory as Ibanez Geos, so it's the same guitar, and you're like, no. Anyone who's played an Ibanez Geo and a Harley Benton, apart from the fact that you'll find that the Ibanez Geo with the same with a similar spec is twice the price. Wonder why that is. It's because they built it better. And okay, Ibanez probably, there's maybe a couple of percent in there for like Ibanez doing their, you know, they're skimming their 5% off the top or whatever like that, but the guitars are spec better because they're just not the same thing, you know. It's more important how well it's built. So I mean, I think you could pretty much make this guitar hundreds of pounds cheaper, and it looks the same, or, you know, out of the same materials, or you could make a more expensive guitar out of the same materials just by the amount of time you spend finessing it, making it better, you know. I would expect this guitar to be more expensive than that, even though that is neck through, so it's got the spec sheet and it's got the hip shot tuners and all that, so it's got the high spec sheet, but does it have the look? has the rounded frets that I always talk about on LTDs. I've not seen it on all of them, but my baby metal guitar, or is it actually an Alexi Lehio one, has them, and I had a Viper before, and it's like they've got some technique or some different machine or something for doing the fret ends, so they end up really round. I see that's just got normal fret ends, so even though they're the same factory, possibly, don't hold me to that, ESP, use the special file or whatever it is. They've just the frets are always dead rounded on the edges. Just seem to be better. Designed by ESP. Yeah, so I mean, two very good guitars. I mean, if I had to play one of them, we got that pair right. If we're having a jam tonight, which one do you want? I take this one, even though it's a Les Paul, which does seem odd for me not being a Les Paul fan. This one doesn't seem as extreme. It doesn't seem to sound as active-y, because I mean, I don't use active pickups. I understand on paper why people like them and for certain sounds, but they don't work for me, because I'm used to vintage old style pickups and I like it to distort dead easily, and these are for tons of gain. You know, if you run like one of my guitars, one of these ones through you know, like a dual rectifier set to Slipknot, it's not really going to work. It's just going to go immediately. You're not going to hear any notes, whereas with something like this, it'll have all that distortion there, but you'll have the notes will stick through, because that's kind of what my understanding of what EMGs are for. Also, it's like unclean. I think the single coil ones, you can use them because they don't pick up any interference. But maybe a little bit stereo sounding. But so I reckon there is a difference then. I think the string difference is a bit of it, but not all of it. Not that much. I think there's more to it than that. So whatever that is, kind of sounded a bit, I don't know, not as bright and airy as this. And I like a bright and airy guitar. Not too bright and airy. That Telecaster I was playing on the Renfrew Ferry yesterday. I need to put that video up. My first time I've ever played in the Renfrew Ferry was damn. It's like you get to the point of how microphonic and how bright do you want it to sound. Not that much is what that one is. So yeah, congratulations whoever bought this. It's an awesome guitar, and I don't like Les Pauls. I prefer this to a Les Paul, straight up. I just do. It's not particularly the design. I mean, to be honest, if you'd given it me, I'd probably just sell it, because I'm not really getting any use for something like this with the EMGs, and I'm not a Metallica fan. Well, I'm not Metallica fan. They're not. Yeah, they're not one of my bands. They're not Black Sabbath. Yeah, nothing like it. And to be honest, I think I'm pretty sure you could actually talk to most of Metallica, and they'd probably say, "Oh no, we're not Black Sabbath. No, we probably made more money and we're more successful. Are you as good?" No, not as good as Black Sabbath. Nobody's good as Black Sabbath. They did it all first and best. They got all the best riffs. Best riff ever. The less notes, the better. Lovely. So there you go. Chapman and I should be, if I hold these, I'll maybe do my. I can get so I can't do that and press the button at the same time. Can I do like that? Button's gone off. It's getting difficult to hold while doing the baby metal sign.